The person who was holding the fort of regulatory board till few months back is none other than the next speaker, Dr. Dinesh Kumar Shukla. I think his biodata is very nicely, it makes it very clear that he has a very wide experience. In fact, I had some interaction with him when he was in BRC looking after the research reactors work. I will, I think, also cut short my introduction and request now Shukla ji to please take the floor. Dr. Dinesh Kumar Shukla ji.
Thank you, Manchanda ji, for short introduction, which is need of the hour, as everywhere Saran Saab has brought out that we have to cut the time. So, I think let us see it that this series of lectures started with the legislative framework and we are concluding with the regulatory framework. It is like, in the lighter sense, everything else which was there, it is just to meet these two ends. Or you can put it that they are sandwiched between these two. The way I think Agarwal Saab has in between, he said that this is kept at the last so that you stay over. So that is another reason. So the topic given was, so one point I just wanted to mention, because many things has been mentioned in between lectures. I may have to repeat some of them just for keeping the context. Otherwise, it will be, my lecture would be without context. So those things I will not elaborate, but mention will definitely come. Whatever Singalji presented or Grover Saab presented and then followed by that site selection, citing person might have presented, and today morning also whatever has been presented. So that I will just mention and move forward quickly. So the topic given was regulatory framework and safety of NPPs, but I chose my presentation order in the reverse way. The safety and then regulatory framework. Because the regulatory framework cannot come unless until we understand the safety. So with this background, so outline, I will start with that Indian nuclear program, which will summarize what Singalji presented in one slide. Vision and management arrangement for the human resource development, vision of nuclear safety regulation, safety outlook of NPPs. What is the typicality? That detailed safety presentation have been, I am only concentrating on the typicality. Understanding of regulation, control plus safety regulation. This is very important. Unless until this part is understood, it is difficult to come to Shanti Act in context of this particular presentation. Knowledge to rule. Rule cannot come from air. It has to come from the knowledge. So what is that cycle? And how to balance? Everything cannot be taken care by the rules alone. You have to balance them, and that will give the insight, the approach to safety regulation. You cannot understand AERB's or India's approach to safety regulation unless until we understand this cycle properly. And then comes the final part where we will go through the established regulatory framework and how it is implemented. And finally, to sum up. So this is the Indian nuclear program, largely homegrown. Technology development and capacity expansion, strong backing of long-term R&D program. Mind it, long-term R&D program. And everything has been presented by Singalji in his part. Now, the part which was here, these other industrial infrastructure support industries, public and private sector, now they are moving into the core domain. This is what the difference is going to come. My point of this particular slide was national strength, self-reliance, and this is what that three-stage program and the sustainability, that is thorium utilization. Anything which has to be done has to take care of this. You cannot deviate from this. So whether the thorium fuel utilization, NPHWR, all those things, you have to weigh it as per this the long-term objective of thorium utilization. And the base. If you see the whole program rests on the base of human resource development and knowledge management. This is the most important part which I would like to highlight. So let us see the vision and arrangement for human resource development. So Dr. Homi Bhabha, our founder of this program, in 1944, he put this vision. When nuclear energy has been successfully applied for power production in, say, a couple of decades from now, India will not have to look abroad for its experts, but will find them ready at hand. 1944, this is called the vision. Even today it is, if you have seen the last 2 days, I think every speaker has talked about human resource, even Saran Saab has again said that human resource. This is what that 1944, the founder has brought it out, and the actions taken. The training center, first training center was established right in 1957 itself. No power plant by that time in our place. The training center was established, and we are all the product. I can say the 25th batch, Silver Jubilee batch, Bhardwaj Saab from 14th batch, Manchanda Saab, I don't remember the batch, but all are through this training school. And then it expanded later progressively. IGCAR had its own, NFC and RRCAT also. The nuclear training centers at NPCIL sites, all sites they have. And in year 2005, this Homi Bhabha National Institute also has been established for a specific purpose to nurture in-depth capabilities in nuclear science and engineering, conduct master and PhD degree programs in engineering and science, and to be a catalyst to accelerate the pace of basic research and facilitate its translation into technology development and application. So this is, you see, how the whole vision was realized, and with opening of nuclear sector, this is the most important aspect with a special focus on health physics experts. Now, the health physics experts are going to be, I can tell you straight away, he used the term bottlenecks. This would be the bottleneck because human resource cannot be generated in one day. It is not a thing which you order and get readily available. And this particular fraternity, to my experience says of 44 years that we are finding difficulty now. Because once upon a time, there were stalwarts in this subject, but now if you look for that, you won't have the names coming to your mind. So with this, let us see the existing arrangement quickly. So nuclear technology is knowledge sensitive. This is what everyone has said. I am trying to integrate whatever has been said. Comprehensive expertise in all fields of nuclear safety has to be built upon a national level. Infrastructure required for developing and sustaining competencies. Infrastructure required to support regulatory function. And what we have, so we have right now that through the BRC training schools, we have the directly students drawn from the graduates, postgraduate through different schemes. They are through a selection process. They come and then they go through a comprehensive one-year training school course, and then they are posted to regulatory body or to the other DAE units or absorbed in BRC itself. Another route is experienced professionals also drawn from the industry by AERB as well as by the other units of DAE, and there they go through the selective training, not the same comprehensive one-year training course, and then they are posted over here. And once they come to regulatory body, the science and technical competent person through that training, then they come to regulatory body, and then they have been imparted with the basic competency in all regulatory functions and competency in R&D for some select group so that they can take care of the R&D requirement of AERB. Orientation course on regulatory process, application of graded approach, on-the-job training, facility specific, so arrangement with TSO and licensees exist. Soft skills and human organization technical factors, so for that we utilize the services of professional institute like IIT Madras. With this, we come to the vision of nuclear safety regulation given by Dr. Bhabha through a directive in 1960s. Radioactive material and sources of radiation should be handled in atomic energy establishment in a manner which not only ensures that no harm can come to workers in the establishment or anyone else, but also in an exemplary manner so as to set a standard which other organization in the country may be asked to emulate. So this is what the governing vision which has been governing the initial phase of program, that is Tarapur research reactors, Tarapur 1 and 2, RAPS 1 and 2 and MAPS 1 and 2. Regulatory body was not there external. It is all everything, and this is what this line, this was governing, that the promoter of the project themselves were taking care of the safety. So self-regulation seeds were planted through this here itself. And in the expanding phase, functional separation was felt required, and in 1983, Atomic Energy Regulatory Board established as National Nuclear Safety Regulator. Now here, concurrent development, because here this PHWR, this expanding phase I am talking, where that PHWR continuously came up, NAPS, then further REPS, other units, then KEGA, Kakrapara. So concurrent development of regulation with technology. So positive side is it helped in developing the practical regulation because it was along with the technology development. But there was a flip side also. Today we can say, at that time it was difficult to realize it. The influence of technology, that is PHWR and the regulated single entity NPCIL. Because single entity was there within the same department, many of the things which they were doing were assumed that yes, they will be done. They were not put in the regulations. So this is the flip side of this, and most of our regulatory framework documents, they were for PHWR. So safety outlook of NPPs. Now typicality, this has been repeated by multiple times. I think inaugural address by CMD NPCIL also said that event somewhere, impact everywhere. That is the first and foremost part. Production and safety performance, they are key to the public confidence. Therefore, cautious approach in realizing quality in all phases of NPPs and stringent regulatory requirements and oversight are required. And this has been repeatedly, I think every speaker has repeated it. I am just putting it just to set the context. So this is in a single way, whatever has been talked about the safety is brought out, that how different they are. It has multiple times it has been talked about. So I won't spend time over this. So ultimately, all these things you see, finally they are taken care of through the defense in depth philosophy. And this is the additional part which comes for the nuclear industry, that non-replaceable and non-accessible for repair, etc. So with this, it brings to the point which I wanted to make. This DID takes care of all these safety issues. So what I wanted to highlight here was the importance of safety culture for NPPs. With all that background, if you see, first and foremost, in an ideal world, if you have this multiple levels of defense and independent levels, then why there should be an incident? There should not be any incident. But that is an ideal world. We can say that all levels, but every level will have some holes due to active failures. A designer may have some slip, mistake, or lapse. Similarly, the other person may have. The designer has done, but constructor might have created those things. So there could be some holes because of active failures, and there could be some holes due to latent failures, which may not come to the fore at this moment. So these holes are there. If they align in a single line, then only incident can take place. So the probability of incident drastically reduces. Now we should be careful that what is that single thing which can align all these things together. Because now you need different independent levels and different things to align. If you try to align that multiple holes, you see how difficult it is. Whoever from construction and manufacture can understand. It is very difficult. So, but there is something which can align this in a well-defended system such as NPPs. Only safety culture influences are sufficiently widespread to increase substantially the probability of lining up a penetrable series of defensive weaknesses. That's why safety culture is very much important for NPPs rather than the other conventional industries. And because of this is what I just said, that safety culture is important. But at the same time, this defense in depth, it is a mixed blessings. That one side, it greatly reduces the likelihood of a severe accident, but on the other side, it renders the system more opaque to the people who manage and operate them. And this distancing effect and rarity of the reportable events has the potential to lead to overconfidence, which is one of the attributes for the declining safety culture. So this is what is important of the safety culture, importance of safety culture with respect to NPPs. Now this is the NPP safety integrated depiction. I think whatever has been talked, if you see in single slide, and this is from my published work in Springer's book on human reliability program. NPP, if you see, it is built up of the organizational system and the technical system. I think Saranji also emphasized organization system and technical system. So these are the ultimately NPP is what? It is physical thing is system structures and components which give you the production performance and the safety performance, which are the key for the public confidence. If you have good safety performance, you have good production performance, automatically public confidence will come. Now for these SSCs to be physically coming in, what is needed is so many activities are required. Technical decisions, site selection, technology selection, and not only technology selection, but the size also. That was also debated multiple times in 2 days, that what size reactor should be used. So that also is one of the decision in deciding the technology. Then the design, how you do the design, construction, then quality assurance. Now, all these activities which produce these SSCs, their quality, including the quality assurance, quality of quality assurance, also depends on the individuals who are executing these activities, their work group of the individuals, and these two are affected by the working environment. And this working environment has the influence of the organization built up of the human. So human affect the how organization will behave, and organization impacts how the human will behave. So you see, that's why this is the organizational system has impact on the type of or quality of the SSCs which we are going to have. For the sustenance, that before these SSCs are put into operation, now the last resort. If all these activities are done properly, many of the issues can be brought out here itself. But if some latent failures remain in, this is the last opportunity, that is the commissioning, again carried out by these people, where you can detect. This is the last opportunity where you can detect things. Otherwise, you will detect those latent failures only as a part of the incident, and that penalty will be what Saranji has told, that if later stage you come to know, then the penalty will be very high. And for sustenance of this whole system, what you need is a integrated management system with systemic approach for HOT factors and priority for safety, taking account of technical as well as human organization factors. So with this, we move to the most important part, and I am very happy. Grover Saab has joined at the right moment. I needed that he should be present here. This understanding of regulation. Now you see, everybody was thinking, now we have started talking control. Otherwise, always the moment you say regulator, everybody was thinking AERB. And now I will prove that AERB is just a small regulator. Everything is regulated by licensing by the control agency. Here it is only safety part. So let us see this, and this started 2015. This work started of getting the complete understanding. In 2015, that the amendment, when it was made in the Act to allow the joint ventures, then we started working on this right away at that point, that as long as it was within NPCIL, things were different. Now new players will come. This understanding should be very clear, and legal basis should be there for everything what we do. Many of the things were being done earlier informally. It is NPCIL, if AERB says something, they were executing those things. But once you get the new players, then there should be a legal basis. So this part was started right in 2015, this understanding. So the control regulation is what? What activities to be permitted? So national policies, safety, waste management and others as applicable, including strategic requirements, international considerations, including treaties, conventions, safeguards, diplomatic terms with other countries with respect to trade and commerce, defense, etc. This is what yesterday, while legislative part, when Grover Saab presented, he brought out all this. This is the part and parcel of the regulation through the control part. Second is, who should be permitted? The first is what should be permitted. The next is who should be permitted. Private, joint venture, or individual. So this is another part. And what is governing while you permit to a person to nuclear power plant? So capability, organizational as well as financial, plus safety of workers, plus security of sources, etc. This is to be seen, that what arrangements are there. And the last one is where to be permitted. That is the site. This is what differentiates AERB from other regulators world over. World over, they do this also and this also. Whether it is CNSC, whether it is US NRC, they look after everything. Here you see the control part. Where plant is to be put, AERB has nothing to do with it. It is to be decided by the government. It is by the overall picture that even if government decides, then the state government, they come into the picture. So there are many issues. So in India, if you see, these two parts have been very appropriately segregated. The advantage of this is, everything this is done, then only person should come for the safety regulation. Now this preempts the very passionate lecture what you have heard about SMR. You can understand. None of these things will be fulfilled. That is what Mr. Saran also said, Mr. Bharadwaj also said. And we are making hue and cry that exclusion zone is holding. But you have not reached to that stage. Where is the design? Regulator will look for the first you give the input. Neither conceptual input has been put, at least 31st December I can vouch. No conceptual design of any SMR has been put to AERB, which AERB has rejected. And there is no rejection criteria. Exclusion zone is not a rejection criteria. It is a misinformation. So I am clarifying. Exclusion zone is a acceptance criteria. It is a requirement. If you have 1.4 kilometer, you can accept it. And precedence you can see. The 700 megawatt Kakrapara 3-4. What was the exclusion zone requirement when that application was cleared? It was 1.5 kilometer. Did it meet? It was not meeting. And 2010 it was clear. How? The code, same code was telling that it is 1.5 kilometer. It was reduced to 1 kilometer in 2014, but the clearance given for siting was in 2010. This is what the difference is. It is an acceptance criteria. If you have the justification and you prove the dose criteria, then regulator accepts. And this is what was done. So it is a wrong projection that if because other things are not ready, so we put the things on the other side. This is what Grover Saab's presentation, he had the tricks. That he used the term, the tricks. This is the trick. Yeah, I am not able to do, but then put the blame on the other. So with all these things, when control regulation is over, that gentleman will then approach to the safety regulation, and this is what the safety regulator or AERB has to do. Selected site fulfills the safety requirement or not. Permitted activity is carried out in a safe manner throughout the facility lifetime. Now look at the importance of this segregation. If you carefully see, all the vulnerabilities of getting influenced by the safety regulator is avoided, because here there is no chance of influencing the regulator. Chances are here only for getting the license. Here the maximum chance are their vulnerability. Whether I have the infrastructure or not, still I should be given the thing. I don't have the financial capability, still I should be given. Here, once this is taken care of, here it is purely he has to look into safety part. He is not bothered about where you are putting, why it should be allowed here, why it should not be allowed there. All those things are taken out. So that way the AERB's mandate is purely restricted to the safety part. And that gives the maximum benefit, that vulnerability gets reduced getting influence or political influence coming over here. You can say that there is a shield of government, or now defined as DAE for these purposes. So then there are interministerial coordination for approving justification of new application practices, or clear understanding of control function and coordination for seamless regulatory interface. There are some other agencies also coming into the picture. Now, existing legal framework for implementation of this. So section 14 of the Act gives that control part. So it is with the DAE. Control of radiation application distributed, some part with section 16, Department of Atomic Energy. There are other line ministries also come into the picture. DGFT also comes for that import-export. And for safety, there is Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, constituted in 1983. Certain regulatory and safety function. You see that everything was not given. It is only certain regulatory and safety functions under section 16, 17 and 23 of the Act. Administration of Factory Act, that is through section 23. Regulation of nuclear security having bearing on safety within main plant boundary of NPPs, security of radioactive sources, additional mandate by Atomic Energy Commission. It is not through the legislature, but it is through the AEC. Up to here things were okay, but RPR 2001, that radiation protection rule, there this section 14 was brought in, which is for this. But competent authority defined was only chairman AERB. There was no other competent authority defined to take care of this control function, while the given was only the safety thing. So this is what was another, you can say, motivation for looking the clarity with respect to control and safety part. And this was not impacting simply because there was only one entity who was authorized. So even if you formalize, there would not have been scenario, would not have changed. But it has given a hint that for the future, it has to be appropriately looked into. Then there is environment protection, which is through the Environment Protection Act 1986. It is through the MOEFCC. It includes the consideration of radiological impact assessment as per AERB requirements, and then the public hearing. Now you see in Indian context, minimum 3 regulators straight away involved, and public hearing is totally carried out independently by a third agency, MOEFCC. So nowhere there is any interference or influence. You can say that this is done by MOEFCC altogether. Only what they are getting is RIA as per the AERB requirement. That's all. So this way, if you see that, it becomes the much more independent system compared to any other country. So this part was already covered by Grover Saab. Now coming to the Shanti Act. Now here he has given the detailed presentation, but I am putting it in the context of safety regulatory framework. So to provide for promotion and development of nuclear energy and ionizing radiation with robust regulatory framework for safe and secure, I have highlighted robust regulatory framework. This is what has come out from the Shanti Act. And 4-tier adjudication architecture, validity of license safety authorization as specified. Either if DAE has to give license, they will specify, and for safety authorization, AERB will specify. This was not very clear and misinterpreted the way it was given in the rule. Now it has come out very clearly. Explicit clarity with respect to implicit understanding of control and safety regulation. Very clearly, everything has been clearly brought out for what you need license, and you have to go to DAE, and after that, when you are supposed to approach for safety regulation to AERB. So, license for control, DAE through the prescribed rules, which was told yesterday that in progress. Promotion and providing services related to radiological protection is also with DAE. So one is the promotion, another is this services related to radiological protection like environment surveillance lab, dosimetry, those things somebody has to do, otherwise private just they will come and what they will do. These services has to be provided. So that is also with DAE. Policies for quality assurance and quality control, including manufacture and construction. This is very important. Now with this, whatever is the quality requirement and implementation guidance given in the AERB regulatory framework, that may change according to the way these policies are framed. Coordination and support to other agencies for emergency preparedness and response, also with DAE. Notifying nuclear incident, which is as on day is with the AERB, now it will be with the DAE, only AERB will provide its recommendation. Coming to main part, that is safety regulatory framework. So regulator as well as the safety regulatory framework, they get the statutory status. So far this was not there, which has come now. And safety authorization by specified as specified by AERB in regulations. What has happened is, actually if you see in the safety regulatory framework, there is nothing is going to change. Things are remaining the same. It is what is happened is that evolved regulatory practices over the years, they get the legal basis now. So don't look for that people have that AERB something will change. Nothing is going to change. Same code guide, they are applicable as it is. Only minor changes will be in the terms. The terms used now have to be aligned as per the Shanti Act. So earlier, AERB has been now, as per the Act itself, frame safety codes and such other regulatory documents. I will specify this other regulatory documents is very important. Earlier, only through the rules this was coming, but it was only code and standard. But now Act has included other regulatory documents also. The down below I have put that. And important addition is management system, which was not earlier getting covered. Now that is also covered, and this important part, qualification, training and recognition of qualified or certified personnel. Many of the things we tried to do it, but that legal complication, it was getting stopped, like RSO certification. Where is the legal authority? And then people used to question. Now all those things have been clarified. Frame regulation and establish implementation mechanism for the recognition and certification of person for performing the task or carrying out the functions entrusted to them. Another very important part which has come directly from the Act. Recognize agencies, institutes and testing and calibration laboratories. This is also very important. We have done this for radiological laboratories. We have given it to accreditation to the NABL. QA agencies are accredited by them. We only recognize. Now it gets formalized or regularized through the Act. Specify criteria for nuclear incident. Provide recommendation to central government. This is for nuclear incident. Now, another important part which was highlighted yesterday was this. Duties of licensed or authorized person explicitly mentioned. That licensed person shall have the primary responsibility for safety, security and safeguard. This was being practiced, but it was through the lower level of statutory requirement. Now it emanates from the Act passed by the Parliament itself. Comply with applicable regulation. Now this is what is important, I am telling you, how that regulatory framework became robust. Comply with applicable regulatory documents, safety codes, safety standards, safety guides, safety manuals and such other documents issued by AERB. So any document issued by AERB has to be complied by the licensee. This is a much more powers given to the AERB. This used to be a question in the international forum many a times, that how some of the requirements you bring in the guides, how you make them mandatory. So now the answer is very clear that it has from the Act itself, it is there. Maintain design support throughout the lifetime of the facility. It was through a codal requirement it was being done, now it comes directly from the Act. Provide access and necessary infrastructure for site officers. We have posted our site officers again by understanding with NPCIL. So tomorrow a new entity may say where it is the requirement, where is the legal requirement that we should provide you this. So that has also come. So this is being done, but maintain sufficient financial security. The point I am trying to bring in is that regulatory framework is only strengthened by the Shanti Act, and the practices which have evolved over the years, for almost last 4 decades, they have been appropriately given the legal basis. So with this, now coming to what I said, that to understand the regulatory approach, safety regulatory approach, it is important that we understand the knowledge to rule cycle and how it is balanced. So rule-based safety, all situations are anticipated. Formal procedures, rules, training, implementation of scientific and technical knowledge is needed for this. And this is what Saranji has put, that reactive and responsive, proactive and responsive. So it is of some similar pattern. Then there is another managed safety, which is purely knowledge-based. There is no rule. So rules not available or unexpected situations are coming in. So they are handled as they arise. Human expertise, quality of initiatives and management, they become very important at this junction when things are not available. And these two pillars of safety, rule and knowledge, the wisdom to balance them comes from the maturity, that is from experience, which now AERB is more than 4 decades experience, so they have. And this is the cycle, that you have that new technology or new information, in even existing technology you get a new innovation, it goes through the knowledge-based safety approach, and then with the experience it is converted to the rule. And even in the rule, when there is a new knowledge which comes, this rule also can be amended. So this is the way this cycle continues. So safety regulation follows the evolution of the technology. In the beginning, knowledge-based regulation from scientific principles and R&D inputs, and then converting knowledge with experience to rules. This is what the actual approach is, which is different than the many countries which purely follow the prescriptive approach. We do not have the 100% prescriptive approach. So the approach for safety regulation is holistic approach. This holistic means, I think yesterday there was a question. So this is what the holistic approach is. It encompasses elements of various regulatory approaches in varying degree and extent depending on the specific issue. We do not have the one fit for all solution. Our approach is not like that, and it is not possible. AERB regulates the diverse technologies. Now you see that we have PHWRs, we have PWR, we have sodium fast reactors, the different type of research reactors, and radiation applications, so vast or diverse things. So one solution cannot fit all. So that's why, depending on the case, we have the prescriptive, outcome-based, risk-informed and hazard-informed, process-based, self-assessment-based, education and influence-based, or the mixture of them in appropriate proportions. This is what our thing. So a lot of flexibility is given to our regulatory framework. Depending on the case, we are able to choose in different proportion. Only you can see everything is included here. Risk-based is missing. Risk-informed is there. So what is there is, we never regulate a thing purely based on the probabilistic safety assessment. No. We use probabilistic safety assessment complementing to the deterministic safety assessment. That is what the approach is. 100% on probability we do not regulate. And following graded approach commensurate with radiation risk, this is what the responsive regulation, that word which came from Saranji, responsive. So, emphasis on influencing over enforcement, inclusive, participative, non-intrusive and independent. So we have the inclusive, we involve the licensees also in our regulation. They participate also, and we do not intrude into their domain. How they will operate their plant is their independent thing. We don't intrude into that. We only say this is the requirement you have to meet. And we see that how they meet the requirement. We don't dictate them that you do this like this or like that. Close monitoring of human organization factors to detect early signs of decline in safety culture. And this is what this approach is given the nomenclature, accountability oriented enabling regulation as per OECD NEA. They have given. So we were not knowing the name, but we were practicing it, but now we got the name also for our regulation. Now coming to the regulatory framework for safety. So you have this Act, rules, directive orders, gazette notification. They are the legal and taking care of both control and safety, because from there only the regulatory framework gets the legal basis. And down below, this is safety codes, safety standards, safety guides, safety manual. They are the actual regulatory framework for safety, and they have the full legal basis now from Shanti Act. Codes and standards, they provide the basic safety requirements which are to be met. That is mandatory part. While safety guides, they elaborate in context of that particular subject on which that safety guide is there, how to meet those requirements that they provide the practices. If you follow, the advantage of this, if you follow the safety guide, then the review time will be less. But they are not mandatory that you have to follow exactly whatever is given in the safety guide. You can deviate as long as you are able to demonstrate that you meet the safety code requirement. But the only difference is, if the practice or method given in the safety guide which has gone through the multi-tier safety review and public consultation, then review time will be less. Now if you put a new thing, then it has to go through the same mechanism, so it is only the time thing. But it doesn't restrict that safety guide has to be mandatorily followed. You have the flexibility available to follow other means to demonstrate the meeting of the safety requirement. And safety manuals gives the very detailed instructions that how to take care of the safety requirement and guidance given. So AERB has issued almost 165 regulatory documents covering everything from cradle to grave consenting stages, citing diverse NPPs, NPP for all design, operation, quality assurance, fuel cycle facilities, and radiation facilities. The functions of regulatory bodies, if you see, the core regulatory functions are three: development, revision of regulations and guidance, which is regulatory framework, then licensing according to them, and then having the regulatory oversight to ensure that licensing conditions are met. And there are functions to support the core regulatory functions, that is safety research, legal support, all these are there. Now, core regulatory functions, how they interact. So you have the regulatory framework, that is development and revision of regulation guidance, again systematic approach for HOT factors, application of graded approach. And based on this regulatory framework, you do the licensing. And during the licensing, this regulatory oversight function supports this licensing function through the processes of safety review, assessment analysis, regulatory inspection, arrangement and monitoring of emergency management, regulatory action, intervention and enforcement. Through that, this licensing process is supported. And once a facility is licensed, remaining their service life through this regulatory oversight alone, it is taken care of. So the oversight, now here further detailing that it ensures the compliance to the safety requirement. So licensing conditions are there. You have to ensure the compliance with license condition, and it is done through the review and assessment. Inputs are review and assessment inputs, safety analysis reports, periodic reports, event reports, this drill or exercise reports, and this periodic safety reports, that is limited scope every 5 years and full scope, that is comprehensive in every 10 years. This is for renewal of authorization for operation. And daily reports from AERB resident site observer teams. So these are the inputs through which this safety review and assessment is done. And this review and assessment brings out the requirement of regulatory inspection. Why to inspect, what to inspect, when to inspect, and how to inspect, to validate that this whole assessment is valid. And whatever deviations are brought out, now they are taken care through the influencing first, and if not, still you are not able to influence and get them complied with the conditions, then enforcement. This is the way it is done. And operation and regulatory experience feedback through this whole process goes back to, again, development of regulatory documents. The long-term operation, now you see, we have done for Tarapur 1, is more than 50 years old reactor, recently started back, and just before my retirement, that clearance was given. We had an approach paper clearly made that the full thing, which was circulated, given back to NPCIL. This is the way we are looking for, and this is the way we can. Now it will be formalized as a appropriate regulatory document. But first we have the experience, we given the startup clearance, and now it will be converted into things. So the approach is, it is the same probabilistic safety, periodic safety review, but whole period is to be taken. That whole operating experience has to built in for that, while that others were 5 years or 10 years. Now here will be the full 50 years period, and other applicable condition for renewal of license. So this is the approach. Regulatory oversight, as I said, that the safety review and assessment complemented by the regulatory inspection. So first is the activities at site. All these activities are covered by these two processes complementing each other. Then there are activities outside the site. That is like manufacturing. As on today, this part is being taken care through the RO, because here if you can see that existing act and regulations, we do not have direct access to the vendor's place. He has every right to say, no, I will not allow your entry. So that is done through the responsible organization, that is through the NPCIL. So our people go and see the implementation of the agreed upon quality assurance program, which has been approved by AERB, how appropriately. This part will now change based on that Shanti Act, where that QA and QC policy will be given by the DAE, and requirements both are to be seen that they are not conflicting anywhere and everything is being taken care of. So consenting process for nuclear power projects, AERB code, regulation of nuclear and radiation facility, AERB SCG, is available on AERB website. This is under revision as 2018 itself it was decided to convert it into as a safety regulation. Now you see what Saranji said, proactive. You see, Shanti Act came in now. 2018 we decided that we will change it to safety regulation, and it has been made in that part. Only now we were waiting for that in Shanti Act, what way those terms are defined, so that we can appropriately. So it is to be only aligned. Major stages, for all stages, it gives that what documents are to be given. The guide provides that at what stage, what document is to be submitted, in what format. Everything is very clearly brought out. Construction clearance, as Saranji explained, that it could be single stage, it could be 3 sub-stages. So it is up to the applicant what way he is looking for. If he provides everything, all information, full information, AERB has no insistence for 3 stages. These 3 stages was to facilitate concurrent safety review. The project also goes on and at the same time you do. But many a times this is not a good, this is my personal opinion, it is not a good thing that for repeat design we should avoid. Everything should be provided in the beginning itself. So again, elaborating, these things have been presented, so I want to just show that citing what are evaluations are done, then construction, what are the things needed, commissioning is what and what we look for, then operation and decommissioning, and ultimately everything is through the graded approach for regulation through multi-tier safety review. So applicant is the responsible organization. He has to submit the application plus identified submission as per those 2 documents. Supporting documents, additional information during course of review. Many a times when, as I said, that knowledge-based as well as the rule-based. So by rule, everything will be, it is known, so you will provide, but it may happen that something you are trying to demonstrate safety, but there something is a missing link. So all those things, additional information would be sought. And the responsible organization which owns the design has to provide availability of technical documents, drawings, updated information on design and technical details of SSCs, acquire and provide necessary information on set of computer codes for lifetime safe management of facility. These are very important things that supplier may give in the beginning and then subsequently he may back out. So this arrangement has to be made for the whole lifetime. Manage smooth manufacturing, construction, erection, commissioning, operation and decommissioning of SSCs, and should have a capability for independent assessment within the organization itself, maintenance of design integrity. This is most important, and now it is coming, requirement is coming directly from the Act itself. This I have added because in most of our cases that our experience is this regulation of digital I&C. What we feel that when you import a design easily available from outside, a technology from outside you are directly taking, similar issues will come, which are here. So just for that purpose, I have brought out that what we faced with the digital I&C. Demonstration of quality and reliability of digital I&C. Present approach is rigorous but qualitative for demonstrating reliability and integrity of digital IC. Smart devices and COT systems, limitation on sharing proprietary information. This becomes a bottleneck for the safety regulator. Because on the name of proprietary thing, many information is not given. Then how do you assess and validate those systems? Producing a safety case poses challenge during licensing and compensatory evidence is needed. So this becomes a issue later on. So I am flagging it in the beginning itself that whenever such things are being taken, then these requirements also should be built in while having the contract. Common cause failure due to software plant designed to account for CCF to present layers of DIDs, incorporate and demonstrate adequate diversity, use of field programmable devices, demonstration of quality of field programming, and this verification and validation, especially with respect to tool qualification, the tool which is used for development, and use of life cycle approach. Cyber security aspects, challenge to address security concerns, updating the regulation to keep pace in this thing. So this D25 guide, which looks after the digital IC and computer-based system, it has been, for the time being, amendments have been put to take care of the whatever lessons learned by our experiences. And AERB is following up international approach and trying to assess reliability of this V&V process based on state of the art. So this amendment is done for the time being, and full revision will take its own time. So licensing basis, there is generic requirement, which has been very well covered by multiple lectures since yesterday. Then there are technology-specific requirements. So technological details adopted in the facility, specific system requirement, technology-specific hazards. Now, safety review and licensing for the new build. So applicable AERB safety requirements have to be met, and wherever they are not there, then applicable IAEA and international requirements AERB accepts. First of its kind system, complete spectrum of safety functional demonstration by the technical inputs and R&D experiments. That is the basis of acceptance. Extensive commissioning test and additional surveillance to the extent practicable. Experience feedback from similar design. In-house checks and analysis. So these are the basic requirements when there is a first of a kind system. And for imported NPPs, plant to be licensable in exporting country. First, that certification should be there, that it is licensable. Operating experience feedback, that is, if there is a reference plant, that operating experience feedback should be there to build the confidence. And design authority and plant life management. This is what is important, that people may, these two things you may get, but this part for the lifetime management has to be seriously taken care of. Safety review, it is, I think already it was explained, and even from our Hajela ji had presented one of our IMS document that how it is being taken care of by different groups. So AERB staff, review groups, task forces and expert groups. There are safety committees, advisory committees, AERB board, and this IMS document, which is available on AERB website, which gives the decision-making level and the delegation of authority, that for what type of approval you have to go up to the board with what number of levels or tiers of review. It is available straight away on the AERB website. Everything doesn't go to the board. Limited things go to the board. Majority of the stages are taken care, clearances are done within AERB, and within AERB also at different levels. Now here, if you see this in-house review within the responsible organization, this is again by our codal thing. Now this has got the legal basis also, that through the management system this can be, requirement can be put. So coming to the end, the role of a regulator is to reduce the risk to the stakeholder, and for us the stakeholder is the public. While making risk acceptable to a stakeholder, it is done with the ease of meeting regulatory requirements by the applicant and licensee. And how it is done? So for effective management of the resources, regulatory safety codes, safety guides and safety standards, holistic revisit, this is what was somebody was repeatedly to AERB has to look into. AERB is already looking into this, and very holistically, not haphazard way, just only one code, no. We are looking for, if you revisit and revise your codes, guides in the different time span, inconsistencies are bound to happen. So there is a strategic plan. As per that, it is being executed, that what set should be done together, and then others should be aligned with that. So this is already ongoing process, consistency, harmony among them, and that whatever was referred, that citing code is already in the process, draft prepared, and then the next level there is expert group review that is going on. If you go through this recently issued codes, that NPP sodium phos reactor code and NPP this other one, that PHWR code, there are two, I think I have repeated the same twice. One is for PHWR, one is for sodium phos reactor, and another one is for light water reactor. So if you go through their forward objective and scope, you will get the clear glimpse that how regulation and regulatory documents are getting changed in the revision. In case of any experience of event in NPP, regulatory requirement may change. Recent example, post-Fukushima, which has been given by, I think, CMD NPCIL also said, and for Kakrapara 3-4, Saranji also said. So this was the thing. Now, careful consideration for graded implementation of compliance to change requirement. This is what AERB does. And now this has come through in the Act also, that you can, of your own regulator, can change the terms and condition, or DIE can change the terms and condition of license if any such thing in between comes. Revision of consenting process of NPPs, that is simplification. So these things which are all debated since 2018 and put in some form, but till it is issued, I cannot comment on that. But what is considered is, I am bringing out, is pre-project consultation, which is already being practiced. That if you want to have a new project, AERB discusses these things before making the formal application. That synchronization, integration of various licenses, because 2-3 licenses were there, long-term license for design life, and this is already considered. Now it is to be aligned with the Santi Act, whatever is been approved. Repeat design, NPP designs reviewed earlier by AERB. If AERB has already reviewed a design, then attention to changes from earlier approved designs, this is already in practice. Now, standardization is the key to avail this. This time reduction, everybody says that we can reduce it. You can reduce only if you do the standardization. I think Mr. Raghavan, in the morning presentation, he was emphasizing this. If you have the standardized design, then why a regulator has to look into again and again. But if you keep on changing, then definitely he has to look. One change can have the implication of multiple systems. And that one thing, I think something was told, that Kakrapara 3-4, something was mentioned. So you see, that is the thing. That one change has created so much problem in so many places. So this has to be, if standardization is done, definitely regulatory review time will drastically reduce. Application of graded approach, that is optimization of review levels, implementation of integrated management system, this is already being practiced. Competency development, AERB is having its own mechanism and taking care by participation in national and international forums and peer reviews. Now coming to the most talked about, that management of concerned new and innovative designs. If you see the background I have already given, that rule, the knowledge to rule cycle, as long as we have that and we have the competency, there is no, let any design come. From scientific principle, we can definitely regulate them. So the concerns are the basic concept itself. Design standards used by vendors, what type of standards they have used. Materials used in design, research and experimental studies. And what is important is the clear roadmap for demonstrating safety. Whenever you use any first-of-a-kind system or any innovative design, then this clear roadmap how you are going to demonstrate. Here that again I will use the tricks of today give the siting clearance, we will demonstrate it in experimental facility. Then next stage, no experimental facility, there is a issue, we will demonstrate in reactor. These tricks should not be brought in. These things are not good. Clear roadmap for demonstrating the safety case should be there. And if you see, the established regulatory framework evolved over time, applicable for new build. Now you see, AERB has the design code already issued and available on website, light water reactors, sodium phos reactors, and PHWRs. Now I do not know which design we are talking which is beyond these three. So far, all designs we talked in 2 days, they fall in one of them. So it is available. The safety code is available, which is applicable. Whether it is a small reactor, whether it is a modular or not, it is none of the business of the safety code. What safety requirements are to be met, they remain the same. They don't change. You demonstrate that you meet them. And why I said that read the forward, objective and scope of the recently issued codes is from this angle, where it is very clearly mentioned that if any of the requirement is you are not able to meet or you feel it is not applicable, provide the justification. AERB is ready. So this wrong information that the rejection, AERB has acceptance criteria, not rejection criteria. So here things are accepted. You come out with the safety thing, and I gave the example that same exclusion zone not getting met, AERB considered, and still applications are there which are under review, where that 1 kilometer is not getting met. That doesn't mean that the code has to be, again I said the knowledge based and then experience, we convert it into the code. So code revision will take its own time, but it doesn't stop applicant to approach to AERB. So experience of concurrent development of technology and safety regulation, it is a strength to regulate new and emerging technologies. Safety goals remain the same. Technology specific requirement covered for these 3 designs already covered. If anything other than this comes, then technology specific aspects may need to be evolved during concurrent review process. So there is no hold up from the safety regulation point of view for any emerging, evolving or innovative designs. What is needed is intrusive review required as explained under FOK systems, delinked side and design review. This is another option, additional option to existing consenting process under consideration, which is, I think somebody else has also pointed out, that you can have a design, you have that bounding conditions, that this design from this ground motion to this ground motion, this design is valid. So that type of review is done. Only at the time of citing, the integration can be done. So this is one of the important aspects which may come in the revised code and guide. To reduce regulatory oversight time, regulator may accept these details even partly for review well in advance of actual launch of the NPP project as part of pre-project consultation practice. Now let me clarify here. Whatever has been talked about SMR and all blah blah big things, not a single paper has come to AERB. None of those things have come to AERB. And AERB rejects, unless until you apply, how AERB can reject? There is no even conceptual design which has come to AERB. So we cannot comment on those things which has not come to AERB. At least 31st December 2025, I can tell. Nothing had come. So finally, summing up, necessary infrastructure and regulatory processes for effective implementation of legislative provision to ensure safety of nuclear and radiation facilities are well established. Regulation of emerging technologies framework provides that flexibility. Experience of concurrent development of regulation with technologies, light water reactor and sodium phos reactor, we did it. Codes have come now, but we have given clearances. FBTR is in fuel loading and first approach to criticality stage. Those all clearances are given. Code has come now. So concurrent regulation we could do. Light water reactors, we had only PHWR code. Light water reactor code came in 2015. While Kudankulam clearance was given, up to operation we have reviewed. So concurrent it is possible. The regulatory approach followed is inclusive, participative, flexible, facility-specific, and balances well rule-based safety and knowledge-based safety to regulate any kind of technology without compromising on safety. The accident-free safety performance of nuclear facilities in the country over the years and the acknowledgement of International Regulatory Review Services, IAEA, peer review are testimony to the effectiveness of Indian safety regulation and commitment for ensuring high level of safety in nuclear facilities and activities. Besides regularizing the evolved regulatory practices, Shanti Act 2025 provides for promotion and development of nuclear energy and ionizing radiation with robust regulatory framework for safe and secure utilization. Event somewhere, impact everywhere. Again, I am repeating, this is the crux of the nuclear industry. Unlike other industry, nuclear industry demands defense in depth with independent or common cause failure causing no impact, compliance to highest design standard, best quality compliance, and continuous monitoring and oversight. This is what is the requirement. Safety is prime responsibility of the licensee. Self-regulation and strong safety culture, arrangement for maintenance of design integrity throughout the NPP life cycle are the key to fulfill this responsibility. Areas which need priority attention, one is the human resource and nuclear knowledge management, and next is the public outreach, public confidence. Exclusion zone will not hold any new technology or new reactor. This public outreach, public confidence, the public can hold. And this is what is to be immediately. And second is availability of human resource. This is what. And the last point, which I have not written but would like to make, is the key ultimately for this whole new venture, which is the title of this theme meeting, Mission for 100 Gigawatt. If we have to achieve this, it is with all the stakeholders. NPCIL, private industries, public sector industries, it is 3 C's. Cooperate, coordinate, collaborate. It cannot be done in isolation. Just by putting act alone, if DAE keeps quiet or NPCIL keeps quiet, nothing will happen. And they have to take the lead because promotion is built into the DAE mandate now. Promotion has to be done, then they have to take the lead, bring the people across the table, have the coordination, cooperation, and collaboration. And for the third one, that public confidence, again 3 C's. Connect, convey, and convince. This is what the actual thing is. And the last point, everyone talks about the demand of electricity. I do not know, I have never heard anybody talking about why not optimize the use of electricity. Nobody talks this. Like LTO is indirectly a capacity addition. You are not making new thing, but if you extend the life of a reactor, it is as good as adding a new reactor. Similarly, if the optimization of electricity demand, that also is to be looked into. I have never seen in any forum this point that we have to optimize also. Many a times we use how much nuclear waste we say that the first principle is we should not generate the waste. So why to waste the electricity? Well, the wastage also, if we control, that itself will be the capacity addition indirect. Okay, with that, thank you very much. Just these are the references, because whatever, as a retired person, I cannot talk as a chairman AERB. So what I have said, everything is available on public domain. This is what the book, if you see the chapter 4, Winds of Change, whatever I have talked, you will get with the year also when we started working on those things. It is there on Winds of Change and epilogue Manthan. That Manthan to getting prepared for the future, or always. Second is latest IMS document. This is what it will give the full how AERB functions. and binding document approved by the board. It is also available on the website. Then Indian Nuclear Society, this INSEC 2024, this was on regulatory framework for nuclear renaissance, November 1921. This recording of this presentation, they are very beautiful presentation, panel discussions. Whoever is interested can go through. It is available readily. Then INS newsletter, a special issue on regulatory activities of AERB. You will find this, how regulatory documents are made, everything is, how they are categorized, all details are available. If you go through it, you will find all the information. Then some of the points what I said is through some of my presentations which I had made. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shukla ji. I think we are already well ahead past the time.
Yes.
I only want to make one observation that your last but one slide had mentioned about the human resource management and the public outreach, public confidence. I think INS also has an important role to play there. It is
Yes.
a part of the mandate. So we have been trying to do this and we will continue to do this job. If there is any compelling short question you can ask, otherwise we will like to move to the next session. Yeah, please make it short. Huh. Yeah, please.
The short question is,
Yeah,
what
go
is
on, go on.
AERB doing in terms of collaboration with other regulating agencies? Because some of the designs that might come into the country have way advanced through the vendor design review process in other countries. So is there some OpEx sharing that is happening?
No, AERB has its own that international cooperation. There is a clear-cut thing. That's why I said if you go through those two documents, very detailed it is given that we have bilateral arrangements with multiple regulators. At the same time, we have participating in multiple outside agencies, OECD, NEA, CSNI, CNRA. Earlier MDEP was there, in MDEP was also AERB was a member. So there are multiple forums through which AERB is interacting.
Last question.
The way I understood, if we have, for example, a new design of a MMR or SMR, we can come to AERB with even a conceptual design and take approval stages. Is that
Approval will not be, but consultation you can do to understand what are the requirements, how you have to go about it. That part. Other part, what I said is that once they issue that new code on consenting process, that is what I am telling as a regulation, and the guide, there it may come that the other part is that you can have a full-fledged design with bounding condition you want an advance review. That review can be done so that whenever you find the suitable site and you want to integrate it, at that time that review time taken would be very small.